Kare Mwapenduka, and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the show that keeps you up to date with the latest news in Africa and beyond. I'm your host, Glenora Shipura. Let's take a look at what you can expect in today's broadcast. Protesters, police clash in rallies against Kenyan tax hikes. And Mozambique Elections, Constitutional Council accepts 4 presidential candidates. And in Kenya, police to arrive in Haiti this week, according to the U.S. State Department. We'll also be talking to Ari Hohat, who'll be filling us in on the latest news in South Africa. We'll be right back with your top stories.
E-Ticket, your online ticket solution for events and event marketing, bringing you ease of mind and making sure that your event gets out there. For more information, contact events@nmh.com.na.
Starting us off in our top stories, we are in East Africa, where protests against proposed tax hikes in Kenya turned violent on Tuesday, with police firing tear gas and water cannon to disperse crowds in the capital, Nairobi, and other cities, and demonstrators hurling stones at security forces, witnesses said. Riot police sealed off the parliament where lawmakers were debating the tax bill, and State House side of the president's office and residence. Now, protesters oppose tax rises in a country already reeling from a cost of living crisis. But on Tuesday, many also called for President William Ruto to step down. "This is my first protest," said Sonia, who is 37, a digital marketeer in Nairobi. "The other years, I didn't really feel a need to come out, but it's taxes that are really affecting my business." Ruto won an election almost 2 years ago on a platform of championing Kenya's working poor, but has been caught between the competing demands of the lenders like the International Monetary Fund, which is urging the government to cut deficits to access more funding, and a hard-pressed population. Kenyans have been struggling to cope with several economic shocks, including the lingering impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the war in Ukraine, 2 consecutive years of droughts, and depreciation of the currency. The financial bill aims to raise an additional $2.7 billion in taxes as part of an effort to lighten the heavy debt load. In our next story, the Constitutional Council, Mozambique's highest body in matters of constitutional and electoral law, on Monday announced that it has confirmed the validity of 4 nominations for the post of President of the Republic and has rejected 7 others. The 4 candidates accepted by the council are Daniel Chapo, proposed by the ruling Frelimo party, Osofo Momade, the leader of the main opposition party, Renamo Lutero Simango, leader of the second opposition party, the Mozambique Democratic Movement, and Venancio Mondlane, once a senior figure in Renamo and now backed by the Democratic Alliance coalition. Now, all 4 had produced valid identification documents and the required number between 10,000 and 20,000 supporting signatures from registered voters. The council said it has checked each and every one of the supporting signatures to eliminate any duplications, since no voter may support more than 1 candidate. The signatures were also checked against the database on voter registration kept by the Electoral Administration Technical Secretariat to ensure that each signature was accompanied by a valid voter card number. Chapo, Momade, Simango, and Mondlane all passed these tests, and their other documents such as their identity cards and criminal record certificates were also valid. Swinging back to Kenya, the first Kenyan police officers assigned to tackle rampant gang violence in Haiti are leaving Kenya on Tuesday, or rather left Kenya yesterday, and are set to arrive this week. The U.S. State Department said on Monday, "We hope to see further measurable improvements in security, particularly with respect to access to humanitarian aid and core economic activity," State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller told reporters. Kenya volunteered in July 2023 to lead an international force to tackle violence in the Caribbean nation, where gang control most of the capital, Port-au-Prince, and have carried out widespread killings, kidnappings, and sexual violence. The deployment has been repeatedly delayed by court challenges and a deterioration of security in Haiti, which in March forced former Prime Minister Ariel Henry to resign. 4 officers who asked not to be named because they were not authorized to speak publicly said their weapons and personal belongings had been collected Sunday evening to be loaded onto the plane. Kenya's government spokesperson did not respond to a request for comment. Kenyan President William Ruto on Monday held a departure ceremony for 400 officers who will be the first contingent to deploy to Haiti. This mission is one of the most urgent, important, and historic in the history of global solidarity. The European Union is to formally launch accession talks with Ukraine and Moldova after the bloc's member states gave the nod last week. The start of negotiations will be marked by a ceremony in Luxembourg. While the process is likely to take years and be tough, the opening of the talks will give the pair, war-torn Ukraine in particular, encouragement to continue on their path to leaving their Soviet past behind them. The agreement of the bloc's 27 members was secured last week despite efforts by Hungary, whose government maintains close links to Russia, to block the move. The ceremony on Tuesday afternoon will be followed by an arduous process, with negotiations only set to start in earnest after the EU has screened their legislation to access the reforms needed to meet the bloc standards. There is no guarantee that the talks will ultimately lead to EU membership. Turkey and several Western Balkan states have spent years in the accession process. However, Russia's war in Ukraine has reinvigorated the EU's effort to expand its membership, much to Moscow's chagrin. In December, candidate status was granted to Georgia. The former Soviet state has since become embroiled in a bitter political row that Brussels has warned could delay its progress. Getting into the last of our top stories, Senegal says it has detected COVID-19 in dozens of pilgrims returning from their Hajj journey in Mecca. From tests conducted at Dakar's Blaise Diagne International Airport, 78 cases of COVID-19 were recorded. Senegal's health ministry said the results are not surprising. It said returning pilgrims had been advised to wear masks and self-isolate. Authorities said they have stepped up surveillance. Saudi officials on Sunday said more than 1,300 people died during this year's Hajj pilgrimage. They blamed the fatalities on extremely high summer temperatures. During events such as the symbolic stoning of the pillars, many people crowd in the same place with no allowance for social distancing. There have been deadly stampedes in the past. More than 1.83 million Muslims performed Hajj in 2024. Senegal alone sent 12,900 pilgrims. Now, on the other side of the break, we'll be talking to Ari Hohat, who will be filling us in on the latest news in Mzansi.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
It has almost been a month since the national elections in South Africa, and the tussle for ministerial cabinet positions within the new government of national unity continue. Here to bring us the state of affairs in South Africa is Ari Hohat. Good morning, Ari.
Yes, a very, very good morning. It's nice to talk this morning. Yes, it's a bit of a nervy time, I must say, in South Africa at the moment. It started off well a few weeks ago, new government of national unity. Now it's negotiations to find out who will be the ministers, and there's obviously 27, 28 very important positions that needs to be filled. And the negotiations battling at the moment because it is the DA and the ANC, the two parties with the most votes after the elections. They can't agree on how many ministers to give to the DA and the ANC, etc. So briefly, what's happening there, the DA say that they need at least 11 positions. That is because of their proportional representation, the votes that they got. But the ANC, according to reports, offering only 3 positions. So at the moment, there's a bit of a stalemate. So that's how it's described. It's not good for the government of unity. There they are in good voice. That is Mr. Steenhuisen and President Ramaphosa. But it's not like that at the moment. What is a little bit interesting, let's say it's interesting, it's that the ANC ramped up talks with the MK and the EFF party yesterday. So hopefully that's not the indication that the government of national unity is under pressure not to go forward with the 10 parties currently there. I think it's good that the ANC do talk to the MK and EFF, but it will be interesting to see what's going to happen from here onwards. The ANC not in a good position to negotiate, of course. They only got 40% of the votes, so that is not good for them. The MK did get 15%, and the DA just more than 20%. So we'll see how that develops. Talking about the MK party briefly, all the members have been sworn in. They weren't there the first time. There was a bit of some grumblings in the alleys there as well. There's some of the members of the MK party that was previously discharged or sanctioned by the ANC or Parliament. They're back into Parliament again, so we'll see how that develops. It's 2 of them to mention is the former Western Cape Judge John Klope. He was just in February. He was discharged by the Parliament because he tried to influence judges in former President Zuma's court cases. And then also the former Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Zizi Godwa. He's also been sworn in as an MK member, and he was sanctioned and fired, so to say, by the ANC just last year because of these fraud allegations. But he's back in Parliament again. Those allegations need to be tested in court still. So a lot's happening on that front. So hopefully they will find each other and get the right people to represent in Parliament.
Now, all right, Ari, it does seem like South Africa is still holding that deep breath that you talked about a few weeks back. So we definitely hope that the government of national unity puts aside their differences and puts South Africa as, the main goal of why they are doing what they're doing. Now, getting to your next story, South Africa might lose billions of rands in climate finance if certain coal-fired power plants are not closed down in a reasonable time. What's happening there?
Yes, and it's pressure from international pressure. It's just about greenhouse gases, etc. South Africa under pressure for a while. Firstly, to provide energy. That is the Hendrina power station. What's happening in South Africa is that 80% of South Africa's energy is from coal plants like that. So lots of sulfur dioxide that's going into the air, and that's just a global, let's say, agenda for all the countries in the world that agreed that we must look after Earth and we must try and have more cleaner energy creation. So that's the cleaner ones. That's the wind turbines that is in the Western Cape there. There's some of them. But what happened was it was big countries like the UK, the United States, France, and Germany. They all came together and said that they offer this this funding basically. But then 3 of the big coal plants need to close down. Hendrina, the one that was just on picture there, was actually opened in the 1970 already. So it's quite old. And it goes through 105 tons of coal per hour. So it's quite a big volume of ton of coal that is burnt there. So it's all about trying to get options, alternatives. That's not readily available. It's a difficult and expensive process to get all of that in place. Solar and wind like that is the options, of course. But the government also did another proposal that was directed to the World Bank. It's a proposal to the Climate Investment Fund. That was for help of $500 million US. They say if that can maybe happen, that will open a door for $2 billion more that can go towards helping South Africa for cleaner energy. But it will be a difficult process. At the moment, those 3 power stations, Hendrina, Camden, and also Grootvlei, they're going to be open till 2030. So it's still another 6 years that they're definitely going to be operating. So that's not good news for all those big countries that say they want it to happen sooner. But we need the energy at this stage, so it's a balancing act at the moment.
South African citrus exporters have asked the World Trade Organization to set up 2 panels to adjudicate disputes with the European Union. Can you get into this?
Yes, the citrus is a big component of South Africa's export to Europe. South Africa is the second largest importer there. Spain is the biggest, let's say, supplier of all that citrus in Europe. That is the World Trade Organization. They're kind of the watchdog. So what's happening now is the South African citrus say that, listen, we've got 2 specific areas that they challenge us on. That is black spot. It is a fungal disease, firstly, and then also false codling moth. So it's those 2 that the European Union say that South Africa have a challenge in terms of proving that those are not affected the citrus to Europe. But South African authorities say that's under control. It's used in a very negative way at the moment, and so they want that trade organization to basically argue for their part on this. So South Africa export about 1.8 billion South African rand in value of citrus to Europe. So it's a big component. So hopefully the trade organization can help the citrus boards of South Africa.
Now, in the last of your stories, in some sports news, South African cricket supporters need to wake up early on Thursday morning to support the Proteas men's cricket team in their semi-final game at the T20 World Cup in the West Indies.
Yes, like Namibia, South Africa do love their sport quite a lot. And Namibia also played in the same World Cup, the men's team. And so it's a big achievement. It's the semi-finals, just 4 teams left. South Africa, one of them. So that game, like you say, it's 2:30 tomorrow morning. So we need to go to sleep early tonight to watch that. So they play against Afghanistan, which is a bit of a surprise. Afghanistan beat Australia earlier, so Afghanistan in the last 4, but a difficult opponent. Those are some of the South African cricketers. So the other semi-final, 2 very competent teams. It's the defending champion England and India. They play a better time. It's tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 Namibian time that they will play. So that's Afghanistan celebrating when they won against Bangladesh. So it will be a nervous time for South Africa. South Africa last played in the semi-final 10 years ago. Win this game tomorrow morning and they play a final on Saturday. So then you can win the tournament. So it's a big game for South Africa. So everybody in South Africa are quite excited that hopefully there's another nice story to write about, like the Rugby World Cup win in France. So hopefully that can happen on Saturday.
Well, we will be crossing our fingers for South Africa. Thank you so much, Ari, for these stories.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Nice talking, and a great day for everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.
All right, we now take a look at our weather predictions before we return with economic news. Getting into our economic news, nearly 2,000 petrol outlets were shut in Nigeria's northeast to protest against an anti-smuggling operation that targeted some operators. The local head of the Petroleum Marketers Association said on Monday, forcing motorists to buy from the black market. Dahiru Buba, the chairman of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria for Adamawa and Taraba states, said petrol stations stopped operations after the Nigeria Customs Service impounded tanker trucks and shut some fuel outlets on suspicion they were smuggling petrol to neighboring Cameroon. Black market fuel vendors in Cameroon, Benin and Togo have for years relied on cheap gasoline smuggled from Nigeria. When Nigeria scrapped a petrol subsidy last year, that black market trade collapsed, but the product has become cheaper again after Nigeria kept the price since June 2023. We now take a look at our economic indicators before Ari Hohat returns with the sports news.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with cricket news first. The T20 Men's World Cup taking place at the moment in the West Indies, and the teams for the semi-finals have been confirmed. Big result for Afghanistan. They beat Bangladesh and they through to the semi-final to play on Thursday morning. That is Namibian time. They play against South Africa in the first semi-final. The other semi-final will be England playing against India. It was Afghanistan that beat Bangladesh by 8 runs, and it was a tight game, a very close game. Afghanistan batting first, 115 for the loss of 5 wickets, and then bowling out Bangladesh for 105. It's the first ever time that Afghanistan will play in a semi-final of a T20 World Cup. The game between South Africa and Afghanistan will be 2:30 a.m. That is Namibian time on Thursday morning, and then later in the day it will be England, the defending champions. They won the title 2 years ago when they beat Pakistan in the final. It will be England that play India. That game will be 4:30. That is Namibian time on Thursday. Moving on to soccer news, it is Euro 2024, the 24 best teams in European football playing at the moment. Already positions for the round of 16 confirmed. It was a big result for Italy. Italy had to leave it on the 98th minute to score an equalizer against Croatia. That is to qualify for the round of 16. They will play on Saturday against Switzerland in the round of 16. A difficult game for Italy. It was Modric that scored in the 55th minute for Croatia, and only in the 98th minute it was Italy that scored the equalizer for them to go through, and it is Croatia that is out of the tournament. Also, Spain played against Albania, and it was Spain that won by 1-0. Other teams that's also through to the round of 16 is Portugal and also England, and Spain also qualified for the quarterfinals or for the round of 16 because of the win against Albania. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is Formula 1 racing news, and it is the Austrian Grand Prix this coming weekend, the next one on the calendar. And news from the McLaren team is that
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining Africa Good Morning on this beautiful Wednesday morning. From me, Glenn Rashipura, have a great day.